The video is wrapping up. Jenny's back. Woo!
Yeah.
You survived.
Yep.
I still think of New York as it was in the 80s sometimes when I learned about it.
I walked up 87th and I walked up 87th in Columbus and had like time travel related PTSD because like you couldn't walk up
Bernard
a side
Getz?
street. No, I don't ever want to hear that name again because I heard it enough growing up in New York.
Ugh.
But I went all over the Upper West Side and it basically looks like one giant king's palace. It is completely different neighborhood.
I don't know what King's Palace means.
No, just like the palace of a king spread out over many acres.
Like literally.
Literally, every building looks like it could be.
The whole neighborhood moved on up.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
I love the High Line.
I keep missing that because
I want to go on that.
In my general area.
Have you not been to the High Line?
No,
that's so weird.
I just don't live by there.
And you go to New York a lot because of your family. And I've been to the High Line like 3 or 4 times.
I'll have to do it next time.
And I've only been to New York 6 times.
I went to the Hayden Planetarium and saw Dark Matter,
I saw your snap. That was cool.
We just lost Andrew Mayne.
What happened to Andrew Mayne?
Oh, Andrew Mayne, are you in Chrome? Whoa, we hardcore lost Andrew Mayne. We got like that Spanish lady painting Jesus version of Andrew Mayne.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Uh-oh, now we've got a third Andrew Mayne.
Don't trust all the Andrew Maynes.
So many Andrew Mayne.
Andrew, are you in Chrome?
Yes.
You might want to consider, if you can, Safari, if it keeps happening.
Or Edge.
Yeah, I'd normally do Safari. I've gone to Chrome with this because I've had problems with Safari.
Yeah. Anyway, well, if you drop out, just come on back.
Okay.
There's enough of you to keep you company.
The other Andrew Maynes will leave shortly, I'm sure.
What if they're alternate universe Andrew Maynes?
Well, one of them
barely has a face.
Fuzzy. I took a screen grab of that because that is some creepy business.
It's the best one.
There we go. Bye, first Andrew Mayne. Say hi to Batman.
The various wormholes between dimensions is closing. Jump through before it closes.
So I lost video from Roger. Is that normal?
Well, I think he just went away.
Yeah, he turned his off.
As I am about to.
Thank God. I went away first. I'm off the island. That's what I get.
I heard it.
Where is Andrew Mayne? Why is Andrew Mayne not showing up? I wanted to retweet you.
Did you want to retweet? It's gonna be all white. Just retweet.
We have turned into infants. Google, we tweet.
Can we go to Twitter?
All right, let's get this show on the road, shall we? Here we go.
0.02% of the Daily Tech News Show were brought to you by me. If you would like to decrease my already meager equity, go to dailytechnewsshow.com/support.
This is the Daily Tech News for Wednesday, March 9th, 2016. I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me today, Mr. Andrew Mayne, best-selling author of Station Breaker. Congratulations, Andrew.
Well, technically, the best-selling book I have right now is How to Write a Novella in 24 Hours. But, the Stage Breaker is the top 100 techno thriller, though, so that's available.
Wait, I guess I should have said best-selling author and author of Station Breaker, but it just seems so nice to lead them together.
I just don't want to get yelled at. I've already been accused of self-aggrandizing, Tom.
The Authors Guild will come and take your card away. Yeah. Authors Guild's actually a real thing, so maybe I should.
I was awesome. So yesterday, I not that I obsessively check my Amazon rankings, I go pull up one of my books and I go look down below, and you might also like, I see A Guide to Cord Cutting by Tom Merritt, #1, and next to that was my little book, How to Write a Novella in 24 Hours, #1, next to each other, high-fiving each other.
That was a moment, man. I can't deny it. That was pretty awesome.
And I kind of like humble brag sent that out to everybody. I put yours first and then mine second, so it was like...
You didn't have to do that.
It was about you, Tom.
No, never. No, it's all about... Let's end this mutually assured admiration and get to the headlines. Google announced the Android N developer preview today. A little bit of a surprise, it seemed like. A lot of the tech blogs who are used to having advance notice, maybe some NDAs, all were like, surprise announcement. Available as an over-the-air update for certain devices. Google's SVP for Android, Chrome, and Chromecast, Hiroshi Lockheimer, wrote on Medium. They usually do their announcements on Blogger, which is maybe that's part of the surprise. Wrote on Medium that the team hopes to have the final release ready for manufacturers by summer. Changes in the beta of Android N include the ability to reply to notifications right from the little drop-down that happens, a split-screen view with some multitasking available, and picture-in-picture for video. All the Nexi, if you have a Nexus, you can get it, except the Nexus 5. It's not available for the Nexus 5 yet for some reason, as well as Pixel C owners can get it. You can sign up at google.com/android/beta. Do you dabble in the Android, Andrew?
I do dabble in the Android. I have a Nexus that I play around with a little bit. I think that they decided this and they realized that finally everybody's on Lollipop. Now we can jump ahead. Maybe get that out a little faster than going through the regular process.
Yeah, it is interesting. Marshmallow is still in the low percentages, and they're already pushing into N. They did not announce the name, though. It's got to be Nutella, right? It can't be anything but Nutella.
I would say yeah.
All right. Some people get very excited about the naming. I'm just saying. Intel announced it has acquired Replay Technologies. Ars Technica notes that the two companies recently partnered up on 360-degree video of the NBA Slam Dunk contest. Replay calls its technology 3D. It's free with an F. Free D. And when they did the NBA thing, they took feeds from 28 cameras and then used Intel servers to let broadcasters transmit a 360-degree view of the dunks. So the idea is they have all these cameras going, so you're free to change the perspective any way you want, rather than what is often the case with 360-degree videos, having one camera that sees all around it.
They're positioning themselves really well. You know, Intel also made an announcement about their development for room sensing chips, kind of like Google's Jupyter or the platform does, and Microsoft does with HoloLens. I think that Intel says we think VR is going to be big, and we want to be a player for the components for that. So I think this is a smart move on their behalf.
I have to give Kurzanich credit. He has made sure that Intel got their fingers in all the next possible smartphones, so that they don't have happen to them again, or at least as easily what happened with smartphones, where they were just not ready with mobile chips.
Yeah.
Facebook's confirmed to TechCrunch it has purchased the company Masquerade, makers of the app msqrd, which lets you add filters to your smartphone videos. Masquerade's key members will move from Belarus to London, unless they were already in London, and continue to release msqrd as a standalone app. TechCrunch notes the acquisition was first reported by Business Insider, so credit where credit's due. This is if you use Snapchat, those filters that can detect your face and swap your face and put funny eyes on you and turn you into an alien. It's that kind of thing that msqrd does.
And the next level of that stuff is something they've been using for years in broadcast cameras, is the ability to make you look prettier in makeup and stuff like that. And I think that's really where you're going to see application is like, instead of just doing this, how do I, hop on here and not feel so, like what Instagram did with photographs, this is a great way to do for video and making us prettify us.
Yeah, and Facebook has a natural pairing there with Instagram, as you say. Facebook also wanted to buy Snapchat and couldn't convince them to sell, so this may be part of building up their own Snapchat competitor in some way as well. Google launched a new feature on mobile search called Destinations. For a location, you search and add the word destination or vacation to the end, and you'll get a mobile-designed list of options. Tap on one of the options, and then you can explore more information about the destination, such as weather, when the best time to visit is, or you can choose to plan the trip, and that'll give you instant flight and hotel prices and links off to go book those things. You can even see popular itineraries from other people and search by type of trip. So if you want to do a hiking trip or a surfing trip, you could just test Spain surfing, and it'll give you this same element. I tried it out. It's not working on everything they said. I couldn't get Hawaii vacation to show up for some reason.
I go there.
When I tried Tokyo destination, it gave me the Cary Grant movie Destination Tokyo, but most of the time, to be fair, it did work, and when it worked, it was interesting. I would like to have it on the desktop too. That's the problem.
I think they're trying interesting stuff. Remember Field Trip? One of their other little projects. They've
Field Trip.
Field Trip was another. That was another Google project, and it was like how to plan like a trip or something like locations and stuff. They've got a bunch of these little mini. I think it was like a standalone app actually. So that was like, they're with Google, you're glad to see that they're trying these things. Just the scary part is the idea that they may not actually. That's a Field Trip, by the way. That was a let you choose things to do in a location, but I just hope they give the stuff a chance to last.
Yeah, and this one's in the search engine, so you don't have to commit as much as like downloading an app and joining an ecosystem. It's just something you do quickly. It may not help their antitrust cases in places like Europe, which are often about travel search, but they do link out to the actual airlines and actual hotels, so maybe that's not going to hurt them as much. I just return to my thing is like, why make it only mobile? I get that the interface is designed for mobile, but I'd like to have these options on the desktop search as well. I do most of my travel planning on desktop. I realize that their data shows them otherwise, but that's me.
Facebook Live is only mobile.
Yeah. That is the new annoying trend for old fogies like me, is services coming out only for mobile, and it's like, I want to use them on my 386. I got it. In the first of 5 games of Go last night, DeepMind's AlphaGo machine intelligence defeated 18-time Go champion Lee Sedol. Lee was surprised how well AlphaGo played, said, if I do a better job on the opening aspect, I think I'll be able to increase my probability of winning. Next 4 games are at 4 a.m. GMT, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, and Tuesday. So if you're in North America, it's going to be the night before those days, so Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Monday. Thanks to habichuelacondulce for posting this in the subreddit. Andrew, does this disturb you?
So in my book, Night School, it's so big that I had to knock over my microphone. Go is one of the things I talk about in there is the game of Go, because I think it's a very interesting strategic game that predates chess. And in artificial intelligence, for the longest time, there was the thought that maybe Go will be the one game where we can always beat the robot. It used to be chess. We used to think that, like chess, you have to think in ways that machines can't think, and then they started kicking our ass in chess. Go was the holdout. I was like, man, if we can hold on to Go for as long as we can, then maybe we stand a chance. Nope. Sorry, we lose. It's the end of humanity as we know it.
Now, does it make a difference if Sedol comes back and wins the next 4 games? Because he predicted 4-1 or 5-0, so he still has a chance to meet his own prediction.
Yeah, but here's what'll happen: is that let's assume that he is able to come back and he's able to beat the machine. The way these machines learn, and the way they learn, like part of the reason, like the first Deep Blue was able to win at chess, basically because it learned to play the player, and that'll happen to Go, is we might learn to play the machine, but the machine will learn to play the player faster than we can learn to play the machine, and it's done, guys. We're over. In fact, after this is over, I'm going to burn my computer, throw everything in a pile, and I'm going to be done with it.
And you're just going to play an actual physical Go game?
Yes, out of non-conductive parts with tinfoil over my head in the middle of a national forest.
Attention owners of NVIDIA video cards, and Gadget reports the company has yanked its 364.47 GeForce driver because of complaints of visual freezing and glitches. Some reports are failing to boot, some reports of cards burning out. NVIDIA responded that it has not seen reports of damaged cards, so that may just be overhype. And the most serious problems it has noted are blacked out or corrupted screens. Options for afflicted users, however, are to roll back to the previous driver or wait for the soon-to-be-released Microsoft certified driver, or use the GeForce Beta driver 364.51. Thanks to FateForgot for posting this on the subreddit. Not much to say there other than, like, hey, got an NVIDIA card, which we know a lot of you do. You might want to check this out.
Yes.
Google announced it's joining the Open Compute project. That's Facebook's project, and will contribute a rack specification that includes 48-volt power distribution. Google says it started developing the spec back in 2010. They've boosted efficiency by 30% while working on that, and they will collaborate with Facebook on the open spec. Facebook started OCP in 2011 as an open-source hardware platform for data centers. Microsoft uses it in Azure. Now Google using it. This is becoming a truly multilateral open platform for data center hardware.
It's like, two of the biggest things that helped drive the American economy was the national highway system and containers. The actual figuring out a physical container size you could put on a cargo ship, and you can ship from point A to point B, put on a truck, and not worry about loss. And centering around this idea, if you want to build a data center or whatever, it means a lot in the rest of the world for helping them get that kind of digital infrastructure. So
yeah, and everybody benefits from reduced power consumption. It brings down the cost for all these
power companies.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Not everybody, but everybody involved in the Open Compute project is what I meant. That's why we haven't seen too many electric companies joining the Open Compute project. Although, I say that, I wouldn't be surprised to see certain companies joining, even if they are power providers, because selling yourself as an efficient power provider is positive as well.
Yeah.
Seagate announced the world's fastest enterprise-class solid-state drive that can transfer data at 10 gigabytes per second. The current best is 6 gigabytes per second. It also meets Open Compute project specs. Drive is based on the non-volatile memory express interface. You might see it noted as NVMe. No price or read-write speeds were announced, but the devices accommodate 16-lane PCIe slots and have been made available to OEMs already, so they're expected to be available in enterprise-class machines this summer.
Yeah,
10 gigabytes per second.
I'm numb to this now. I'm like, I was like the Game of Thrones trailer. I'm like, yeah, it's great, of course. This is where things are supposed to be. Congrats to Seagate.
But what about if I sped up web pages for you, Andrew? Is that something you'd be interested in?
It'd have to be like 38% faster for me to appreciate
So close. So close. Keep working, MIT. Researchers at MIT's Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Lab have created a framework called Polaris that loads websites 34% faster.
1% off.
Just there. System uses a dependency graph to determine within each page which objects should load when. Now, some of you out there may be saying, well, dependency trackers aren't new, and they're not. But the group says that the previous dependency trackers didn't catch the subtle dependencies that Polaris does, hence the improvement in the speed of loading.
These things are great, but I remember I was reading an article that Daring Fireball linked to, and it was somebody pointing out, like, here's this Google initiative for, like, doing better, faster loading pages, and he pointed out this page was, like, 10 megabytes long, and that we have these great ideas, we're just not so good at implementing them. I tried to load one of my websites on a mobile, and I realized, man, I didn't downsize my images. Everything fits right, but I'm taking big, huge images because I've gotten lazy with that. So,
yeah.
This is good.
For the longest time, page size stopped being a concern. For good or ill, you may say it should have been a concern, but people stopped thinking about it. And if these MIT folks have their way, we could stop thinking about it again. Thank goodness. Other tidbits out there. Robert Bosch GmbH, which makes automotive, industrial, and building products, intends to build its own cloud services for Internet of Things devices. Maybe they should join the Open Compute project, I'm just saying. Huawei sent out an invitation for an event April 6th in London, announcing a new handset. Samsung is launching an upgrade program for Galaxy phones in South Korea. One of those, pay a little bit a month, and then you can upgrade every year. And members at NeoGAF discovered that Amazon Japan is shipping video game hardware and games internationally now. It's not all the games, but you don't have to do the end around anymore. You do have to order it directly from Amazon Japan.
Don't have to deal with the shady guy at the video game store like you're buying drugs, like I got a shipment in from Japan.
Got the Japanese import.
Yeah, it's all right.
It's right here on the counter. It's not even illegal. I don't know why I'm whispering. So yeah, check that out. Those are all some good stuff. We'll have links to all that stuff in the doc, in the show notes doc at dailytechnewsshow.com. Thanks to everybody who submitted stories. We love getting these stories from you. Submit them and do some voting at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. That's a look at the headlines. Many of you may know that Andrew Mayne and I are fans of the space flight. And Andrew, you're a huge fan of the current space efforts, especially SpaceX. I know that was an inspiration for your book.
Mm-hmm. Is anybody this show not a fan? They're like, no, stick to Earth.
Probably. There's probably a couple of them out there who are like, waste of money. Don't. But we'll set that part aside.
Yeah.
Most of us, I think, are interested in this. Jeff Bezos told 11 reporters this week on a very exclusive tour of his Blue Origin spaceflight company that Blue Origin plans to take paying passengers for short trips to experience weightlessness starting in 2018 and using the New Shepard spacecraft to do it from launches in West Texas. He said dozens of times a year. Flights would take 6 people at a time. And The Guardian reports that the first piloted Blue Origin flights are going to be scheduled in 2017, or at least that's the claim from Blue Origin. They're doing tests on the new BE-4 engine that are expected to be done before the end of this year. This all seems ridiculously aggressively optimistic to me, Andrew.
I think that Well, one, I'm a big fan that everybody. What I love right now is we have a lot of private capital going into space, and I think that is wonderful. And for those people that argue why are we spending money on it, a lot of the money being spent ain't ours. It's people who otherwise would have been building, trying to buy, sports centers and put their names on NFL franchises, which is not wrong. But
yeah, you're talking about Branson, you're talking about Musk, you're talking about Bezos here.
Yeah, Bezos, Musk. You've got Paul Allen is also a player in that. So in the big game. So I think it's exciting. I'm not a big fan of space tourism itself, but I am a fan of the idea that they're trying to develop better technology. So that you have Blue Origin is developing their own rocket engines. I've partnered up with.
United Launch Alliance, is that what you're thinking of?
Yeah, so the United Launch Alliance to develop a new rocket, because we've been, for the longest time, like the American space industry, we were using rockets made in Russia and chassis made in Switzerland. So we weren't exactly building the whole widget, which in some cases, it's not I'm a person who believes importing can be great, but if you really want to develop an infrastructure, if you can build as much of it on your own, or if everybody, the net capacity increases, it's better. So it's a good thing. I'm not excited about space tourism. I mean, it's a bunch of rich D-bags to go up and to literally go up past the Kármán line, 60 miles up, and go, waitlist, then come back down. Who cares? Who cares? I don't care about that. That's the equivalent of like taking your airplane to a county fair and putting people up and taking them back down. It's not transportation. It's not research. It's not development. It's not all those other things. So it's not the exciting part for me.
So. But isn't it necessary to make the money? Like
it hasn't been for SpaceX. SpaceX isn't trying to do space tourism. You've got other Rocket Labs USA, which they haven't launched yet, but they're developing these much smaller, narrow-body rockets for doing that. I think it becomes the thing that it becomes. It becomes an attraction to try to show people. Yes, there will be benefits from it. I don't dispute that at all. I think it will be an industry, but I think if you're trying to reduce the cost to orbit, and try to reduce the cost to orbit and try to do that. Which, not to say that Blue Origin isn't doing that, but
sure.
In Virgin Galactic, these things are neat, but they don't excite me like everything else.
Well, and I think that's the interesting part of this space race that's going on, which is you have SpaceX doing regular launches and saying we're the best because we do regular launches. You have Blue Origin saying, well, maybe we don't do as regular launches, but we actually were able, just by the barest definition, to put a rocket up and land it and reuse it again. And then you have Virgin Galactic talking about building spaceports and really leading the charge on the space tourism. We're going to put everyone in space. And remember, but they all have the same goal, which is to get to Mars eventually.
Yeah, and remember, Scaled Composites was the first one, with which then became Virgin Galactic to do that. Yeah, I think that I'm all towards. I think what Bezos wants. I think that's great. I just personally, what am I more excited about? The company that right now is developing this technology, we're going to see these things, or a company developing a high-end luxury tourist attraction? Yes, I can see where that plays out, but that to me is no appeal.
Well, and I would imagine that, especially Blue Origin, would say, well, the tourist attraction isn't the end goal. That's just something we do along the way. What do you want these companies to end up doing? Is it Mars for you too?
I don't know if I ever need to go to Mars. I think what I want is to develop these technologies that lower the cost to space and to orbit, which Blue Origin is working on. The apps are working. I'm more excited. Again, my point is, love Blue Origin, more excited about their hardware and what they're doing there than their business case for tourism. But I think
what if the price comes down, though? At what price does the space tourism thing finally take Andrew Mayne?
Do you know how much time you get to spend in weightlessness on board that craft?
Yeah, not worth it.
4 minutes. You can go
$100?
Yeah, and meanwhile, like a couple weeks, 0G, which is one of the gravity, the comet vomits, will be in town for $5,000. You can spend the equivalent amount of time in little 30-second little interstitial breaks. You can do the same thing.
That's actually what Virgin Galactic has done already. Is basically vomit comets. They haven't actually done the rockets yet, but they've done something like that. If you're like, wait, I thought Virgin Galactic already took tourists. Sort of. They sort of did. I am with you, actually, for the fact that, like, I don't mind that they're doing the space tourism thing. I don't think that leads anywhere for me. But I would do an orbital hotel, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and to do an orbital hotel, you need to do what Virgin Galactic has not done yet, build a craft that can go to orbit. Going 60 miles up versus reaching escape velocity or orbital velocity is a dramatic difference. You're talking, 1,000 miles an hour versus 17,000 miles an hour. That's at a huge order of technological difference. I think they will be able to do that, but I think an orbital hotel would be cool. Yeah, I'm more excited about the idea of orbital research parks, the idea of building many space stations up there, more microsatellites. You've got CubeSats, you've got TubeSats, all of that. That's where I start to think we're going to see a real economy and exciting things happen from it.
Yeah, I think you're right about, and I don't think these things are necessarily exclusive either. You can do both, and that's what Blue Origin is saying they want to do. I do think Blue Origin ends up being the best chance for my space hotel. The SpaceX is very much about what you're talking about.
How are you gonna get to the? I guess I'm saying it. My point is like all of their efforts right now is their mission goal is, for the most part, is just the 60-mile hop, which you can't get into orbit from that. And I guess that's my point. Is
supposedly making bigger rockets for United Launch Alliance.
So working on the RDs.
If they have the experience with the tourism and the liability involved, and then they have the experience making the big rockets for ULA, don't you think they end up being the one that can get me into space?
Have you seen ULA's reusability proposal?
No.
They have a project called Vulcan, which is basically to recapture the lower rocket stage there with a helicopter, like we do for like the Genesis space probe, whatever. That is not a reusability goal. That is not going to bring the cost down. Now, Blue Origin may have somewhere in their skunk works may have plans for reusability to bring the cost down, but what they're doing, it's not. They're going after $250,000, technically space flights. So I think it's going to be SpaceX and the companies that are trying to develop the better, heavier lift technologies now that are actually going to make that a reality.
I do love that we have multiple people, that we can have a debate over who's got the best approach. I think that's amazing. I would like to see even more of them.
Absolutely. And I would say that, too, that if you look at Blue Origin, when they talk about their rocket designs, basically what they've been trying to do is say, we just want to make a cheaper version of an existing rockets, of the RD rockets and stuff. And when we see them more proactively talking about their bigger engineering projects and stuff like that, I will get more excited.
Yeah, and Blue Origin, I mean, this 11-reporter trip was a big deal. They have not been public with anything. So it's also, I think, encouraging to see them maybe opening up a little bit and letting us see a little more of what they're doing, which means they have things that they think are worth showing off.
I'm totally in tune with Jeff Bezos' grander vision of millions of people living in space, and not just, he hasn't specifically said Mars, but in space, and I believe there will be a point when there are more people living in space than on Earth, and probably more people in space than on planets, and I'm absolutely excited about that. The near term, we're going to do it this way. It's like, oh, they're opening up, a new theme park attraction that, that's, another virtual reality thing that's not a coaster. I'd be like, well, that's great, not for me. And this is the most we've heard about them since, I think, a reporter dumpster dived and pulled some documents out of the Blue Origin trash can to tell us what was going on there.
These 11 reporters were smelling much better after their story of Blue Origin, even if they weren't allowed to take hardly any pictures. Well, we're going to bring you back down to Earth now, and not to say that hotkeys aren't important to the future of humanity. Probably not that important, but they sure are convenient. And Franz in Austria sent us this pic of the day. Said, I found myself wishing I could use the multimedia keys on my keyboard to control media playback that happens in a browser window. And now, thanks to a Chrome extension called Stream Keys, I can. Works with YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, Amazon Music, Audible, and he says presumably dozens more. Even when the playback happens in a different tab or Chrome is in the background or minimized, this little gem allowed me to get rid of at least 2 desktop applications I kept around just for this single benefit. So you can check it out, streamkeys.com. It's got some good reviews in the Chrome store. And if you've got those play pause buttons on your keyboard and you'd like to use them for your Chrome videos, well, thanks to Franz, you can. Send your picks to us, folks. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. You can find more picks at dailytechnewsshow.com/picks. We were talking about a Kickstarter for an oven/steamer/system for smart cooking called Tovala. And Salek G found it interesting because he says, my son Zirik just graduated from Berkeley in December and is working for the Serenity Kitchen, where he's working towards making a robot cook. One of the things that Patrick and I were talking about yesterday was we kind of want a system that can just take the food and put it in the oven itself. Now, Solix says it's not a humanoid robot, but rather a box with a stove and an arm. But all you have to do is put the pre-cut ingredients in it, and it does the cooking for you. During the last CES show, they even had the cook prepare their breakfast for them. The company is a startup, so if you choose to mention this and there are any VCs interested, they would love to hear from you, he says. But yeah, I mean, he's obviously got some skin in the game with his son working for it, but it sounds pretty cool, doesn't it?
That's very cool. I know that Google, I just saw just the briefest thing about a project they have of having actually a bunch of physical arms to sort of learn how they pick things up and how they don't and all that. I think the idea of finally getting something in the kitchen to take care of it, would be great, since it's not the 50s anymore and marriage won't solve that problem. I think that it sounds like I'm all for that. And the idea, what he talked about the project specifically, says ours is just a box with an arm that does this. That's great. Single-purpose machines that do stuff, I think, is better. Rosie the robot would be great, but you can't have Rosie the robot in every single room. She's vacuuming. She's not cooking. So
yeah, not every robot needs to move around.
What's that?
Well, it was robotist, maybe.
Yeah.
I was just saying that not every robot needs to move around. That's just. I think I was thinking about this morning. We've abandoned the multi-purpose device, right? It used to be like the computer does everything, and then it was like, well, maybe the laptop will do everything because we can move it around. Now we have tablets, now we have smartphones, we have phablets. Most of us have at least one, maybe two devices, right? So it's which device works for the best purpose, and in some cases, a robot arm attached to the oven, because the oven's not going to walk around, makes the most sense.
I think, too, it's that as the concept of the cloud and where these sort of things exist, and the idea of how the value of the information, I use the device I interact most, other than my phone or my computer, is Amazon Alexa. And what is that? It's a box that lets me talk to the cloud, and it does things. It's a genie. It's magical. It does things for me.
Yeah, I am also a fan and very excited about the Dot, because I can now have Alexa in the bathroom.
Yeah.
That sounds weirder than it is.
I just leave the door open and I yell to her.
Sometimes you're in the shower and you realize, oh, I need more shampoo. You can just say, hey.
Yeah.
Yesterday on the show, we talked about the idea. We didn't really talk about the idea. We compared tech companies to nation states, and how close are they? Jordan from Slushy Montreal wrote in about that comparison and said it reminds him of a long-running political science debate. He mentions banana republics, the influence of oil on state policy more recently, and he thinks it's logical for tech companies to start having this kind of influence, writing, as you said, when Facebook decides to change something in a way it functions, this change affects hundreds of millions of people at a personal level, something only states and, yes, religions could previously achieve. I would even argue that the mere fact that social networks and big tech companies exist has already greatly affected the sovereignty of states, not only by the actions of these companies, but also the actions of their users. Think of the Arab Spring revolutions, the Hong Kong protests, Occupy movement, Black Lives Matter movement, all used technology in various ways were challenging the sovereignty and decision power of nation states. Jordan says we're now citizens of the internet, one could say. Couple other thoughts. Rich from lovely Cleveland writes about the comparison of tech companies, saying, if ancient empires provides a better outline for our understanding, he said, if anything, ancient empires provide a better outline for our understanding of the modern tech company, it cares less about you identifying with it and more purely that you pay into it for access to shared convenience. You pay Rome taxes to build roads and keep the barbarians at bay. You give Google your information to build your email and host your video. Sadly, they are less effective with the trolls than the Romans were. And Alan adds, I think the main difference between social networks and countries is that social networks are not in any way directly answerable to their users, which is what Patrick was alluding to. In a transactional relationship like with Walmart, customers vote with their wallet. In Facebook, you vote with your feet, but the high social price that you mentioned, so the balance of power between the institution and its constituents is very different. I wonder if it would be possible for a government to create a social network that would have more accountability and transparency. Maybe Minitel in France was that.
That's a charming dream. I think that we can draw analogies to anything. I always try to refer back to biology because we have 4 billion years of examples of that. We're seeing, and if you want to look, for example, a social network in China, which I'm sure you've talked about, how China is now doing a citizens rating system based in part what they were doing there, and that's based on a bunch of scary criteria. So I would not count the people that use the threat of force to stay in power, to use this in a benevolent way. And that's just been historically. But we see a very exciting or very fascinating and scary thing right now is Apple versus the FBI. You have Apple saying, hey, listen, once we make this thing and this thing exists, the Chinese can come to us and say, you have to make this, so we have this means to get in there. And it's got very, very scary ramifications for the idea of, do you as an individual have the right to have the privacy of things inside your head, inside your devices, versus not? And I know where I stand on that, but other people have different opinions on that. But that's what's at stake here, and that's an example of a company so powerful now that is saying, no, we really believe in this ideal that other people don't, and that's going to have ramifications that will affect us globally.
And I think the closest we got to kind of figuring out what this relationship is when we said it's like another estate. And maybe that's just identifying that corporations are entities, multinational corporations specifically, are entities that are different enough to be another estate. But this idea that we're members of Facebook, that we have accounts with Google, and that we have this relationship, I think there is something to that is beyond just the transactional relationship or even the brand loyalty relationship that we've had with companies in the past.
Yeah, I mean, when you start looking at different mechanisms you've had for grouping people, you had guilds. Guilds would certainly play a part in Europe to an extent. Obviously, as mentioned, religious, obviously, and then subgroups and sects within that have there. Then you had families. When you go to the other parts of the world, you realize how people who share the last name, or in Africa, tribes. What tribe you belong to is still significant and important, and when they have elections and stuff, often representation has to be based on part of that. So there are a lot of these other forms of defining power besides government and religion and corporations that have existed for a long time, and for better or for worse.
That's interesting, because one of the agreed upon changes that the internet has brought is the ability to create your own tribe that is not restricted by geography anymore. And the Facebooks and the Googles of the world are enablers of that. I'm not sure what to make of that, but there is an interesting relationship to be explored there as well.
Very good point, Tom. Very good point.
Yes, I know what you mean. Hey. Thanks, Andrew Mayne, for being on the show. As always, twitter.com/Andrew Mayne. It's ANDREWMAYNE. He has a fantastic new book called Station Breaker out. I'm enjoying it very much, Andrew. Tell folks about it.
So Station Breaker is set in the very near term. It's about an astronaut on his way up on what would be a routine mission with a private space company. And through an emergency, they have to dock with a Russian space station. He's already a little bit nervous because he saw his commanding officer hiding a gun. And all hell breaks out. Next thing you know, there's a gunfight. He's got to crash land back on Earth and becomes the most wanted man in the world, trying to figure out what's going on. It's a conspiracy thriller set in the near term. People have described it as Gravity meets the Bourne Identity, or Die Hard in space, and so it takes place in space on Earth. It involves every technology in here, something that's either on the launch pad or on the laboratory right now. So it's kind of a Tom Clancy-esque. I mean, not to put my name next to his because he's a genius. But anyhow, point is that it's this very realistic, near-term sci-fi book. And as I've said before, I started reading it because I like Andrew's writing. I like his concepts. He's a friend of mine. And I kept reading with none of that in my mind anymore because I was swept away by the story. It's a page-turner. It keeps you involved. It's fun to read. It's exciting with good characters, a great situation. So highly recommend it. Thank you very much, Tom.
Go check it out. Where's the best place to go? Just do a search?
Amazon. So I put it on, I took advantage of Amazon's Kindle Unlimited program, which means that it's only available on Amazon. Now, if you're like, hey, Andrew, I don't use Amazon. I have a problem with Amazon, and I can't do this. You can email me. I'll hook you up. I mean, I for like listeners of this show and friends who are in the circle, I'm not trying to get your, I'm not trying to get your coins. I mean, I am, but I'm not. I would rather, if you really want to read it, if you're broke and you can't read it, just email me. I'll take care of you. It's only like $3 on Amazon. You can read it for free if you're in Kindle Unlimited, but also if for some whatever reason, I would rather having more readers is more important to me.
The book is called Station Breaker. Check it out. Do a search. Thanks everybody who supports this show and makes it possible by giving us a few of your coins. We hope to always give you your coins worth of enjoyment. If you can't afford it, that's fine. Other people can pick you up. If you're one of those people that can pick other people up, we appreciate it. DailyTechNewsShow.com/support, either by Patreon, which is how we budget, by PayPal, which is how we're able to do special cool things, Bitcoin as well. There's a store. You can get yourself a mug or a T-shirt. Go check it out, dailytechnewsshow.com/support. March is for meetups.
Yeah,
What's that, Andrew?
I was going to say, that, also, if you want to support and maybe it's outside your budget, keep sending in questions and comments and observations and news articles. Tell your friends about it. All that stuff, it helps. It's being part of the community. It's much appreciated.
Absolutely. I'm going to be in Austin, Texas tomorrow. So the DTNS show will come to you live from the Brian Brushwood Studios in Austin, Texas, tomorrow and Friday. Now, I won't be hosting the show on Friday because I'll be doing a panel at South by Southwest. Justin Robert Young will be hosting it then. There's the Diamond Club Party on Saturday, March 12th from 2 to 5 p.m. at the Brew Exchange on West 6th Street in Austin. Justin and Brian and myself will be there. And we'll be doing an LA meetup the week after, March 19th. At 3 p.m. at the original Farmers Market. So check all that out. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. Give us a call, 512-59-DAILY. That's 593-2459. Catch the show live Monday through Friday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern at alphageekradio.com and diamondclub.tv. And visit our website at dailytechnewsshow.com. As I mentioned, Justin Robert Young with us tomorrow. Talk to you then.
Justin, I'm sorry you couldn't get a podcast.
Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
What was that?
I was mocking Justin, but I think somebody else cackled in there.
That would be Brian Brushwood's cackle if you meant this
one.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Those clowns.
Be a clown. Good show. What should we call it?
Astronaut Prime.
Blue Orifice.
Maybe it'll be part of Amazon Prime. Like, you
remember, it's a separate company.
Oh, I like Go Home Humans. AI's got this.
Yeah. Blue Origin's Bezos' baby, so he doesn't have to answer to shareholders about this.
Yeah, it's 100% him, right?
Yeah.
He's out there lighting each rocket.
And there, that gets into the question too, is that part of when you read like what they talked about, what Blue Origin was doing, is a part of their model is like, yeah, there's this existing rocket, we're going to make a cheaper version of it. Like, okay, and they part of like the New Shepard, they hired a bunch of people who worked on the McDonnell Douglas Delta Clipper program in the 1990s, which was cool to see that give new life. But it's like, what envelope are you pushing here? What's the, when you saw Musk go in front of the National Press Club and say, hey, we're going to make a rocket that lands. It's like, what? It's crazy. Yeah, get him off the stage.
And then you get Twitter fights between Bezos and Musk, which what that tells me is Bezos and Musk are leading this race right now.
It's awesome. It is awesome. It is awesome. And it's just it's a thing of beauty that we have some of the richest people in the world now are spending tons of money to figure out how to make space access cheaper.
Yeah. And trolling each other about it.
Yeah.
It could be the Rockefeller and Carnegie.
Yeah. Carnegie is a model that Musk has talked about because, you look at what, Carnegie did with steel and, went from this material used infrequently because it was so expensive to something that became literally the foundation of, modern architecture and building and our highway systems possible because of steel and the roads and stuff. And exciting.
I think I'm going with Astronaut Prime.
Okay.
I like Go Home Humans. AI's got this, but they're both good, and the one is the main topic. So.
All right.
To Major Prime.
So we have on Weird Things. We've had Neshcom's been like doing really good job with the names. I used to always tell Brian and Justin, I'm like, nah, and like he's been doing a really, and they had good names. It's just I just like to be a jerk to them.
Really?
But yeah.
When you're here, you're family, so we mock you mercilessly.
Oh my God, that is the truth. That is the truth.
Put your discounts on.
So you can't use Recode, or excuse me, Book Report because you get an error sign. You're like
I
it's
I could put it in another browser. I'm sure it's fine, but I just thought it was interesting that it appeared as a cross-site scripting attack. Like,
well, that's exactly what it is. It's pulling, it is a cross, right? But it is a very neat. I was skeptical at first, but I use it now for tracking Amazon because it's so much easier than the Amazon graphs and stuff. And you just one button will show you what you did yesterday, today, and easy just to break it down and see. So
yeah, when I start selling enough. that it's confusing, then I'll probably install that again.
You got a lot of titles. You never know because you'll look in there, and if you have things on Kindle, you'll be like, why did this move or what happened there? That's the thing that surprised me is that there's a lot of little data in there, and also there's a cash register ka-ching sound too. So
yeah, now you didn't tell me that before.
It's nothing like the middle of your right and then ka-ching. 25 cents. I'm getting paid. Like, look, Public Enemy Zero made 66 cents today, guys.
Woohoo! It's not even a candy bar anymore.
It's stratoscopic.
So, Andrew Mayne, next time you're on, by royal decree, you gotta wear headsets.
Oh, sure. I didn't know that. I have
every time because we can never catch it in the pre-show.
Oh, okay.
Every single time Tom starts talking in his actual show voice.
That's what it is.
That's how we couldn't catch it. Is because it actually isn't Andrew.
I was like, yeah, I'm testing.
I'm testing it. I'm testing it.
And then I start.
Yeah. Can you hear it? Now you can hear it.
All right. Yeah.
Next time, headsets.
Yeah, I'm sorry you guys are using inferior technology where that's a requirement, but whatever I can do to help. Yeah, I have a.
Thank you. Pity the poor us.
Yeah, I have a thing over there.
I don't know why it's not a problem for anyone else.
I know, it's weird. It's just his speakers are
so good.
So good that they really pick us up.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry I ruined your show, guys.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Mayne.
It's fine.
You and your insights. Damn it.
Yeah. That's a good name for a show. Insights, damn it.
Insights, damn it. That is a good name.
In Search of Insights.
Hosted by the ghost of Leonard Nimoy.
The first one has to be the Loch Ness Monster and or the Bigfoot.
Sure.
We had some Bigfoot footage on Sunday. It was we had Ileana Douglas was our guest, and then she tried to talk me out of giving up everything to go hunt Bigfoot.
I'll have to check that out. I haven't listened to that one yet.
Yeah, she's awesome. She's she's delightful, and she's out promoting her book. So if you're looking for somebody who's more recognizable than moi,
well, Current Geek would be a great place for her.
Yeah, I think she was, like I said, she's a super delightful guest. She's funny, so she would be a good get.
Well, should combine her with Scott Harriet, and then they could squatch it up.
Not squanch. Squatch.
Squanch.
Yes.
I squanch you guys very much.
Oh,
no. Ooh-wee.
Take it outside.
Show me what you got.
Oh, God. More of that show. I could care less about elections, economies, or anything. We're gonna get more Rick and Morty. We could be like that episode of Rick and Morty where the whole world's falling apart and they're watching Summer act out movies on their cardboard TV.
Mm-hmm.
If it's Rick and Morty, I'll be like, okay.
What do you think's gonna happen at the Republican National Convention, though?
Oh my God, no.
So no, I don't. Like, I don't want to talk politics. I just want to talk spectacle.
Well, parliamentary procedure is an interesting, just in terms of the actual chess game of it all. I think is the interesting part. And I saw a thing on, I'm going to say it, MSNBC last night, where they were talking about the market for consultants in Washington who have a firm grasp of convention rulemaking are in high demand right now.
What do you mean like people who set the rules for these conventions?
Because there are
the parliamentary procedure. What
there
you
are
can get away
permanent
with.
rules for conventions, and then there are temporary rules for each convention.
I still believe the simplest way to solve this is to do.
No, wait. Before you say anything, Roger.
It won't. It's apolitical. Don't worry.
Okay.
I'm not going to
All
say. You just do an American Gladiator style contest mixed with American Ninja Warrior. Strongest will survive, and I don't know who actually does any regular exercise from any of the nominees, but we'll see.
I heard John Kasich is a retired ninja.
Does one really retire from being a ninja, though?
Oh, it's gonna be a spectacle.
Hey, dudes,
That's all I'm saying.
I gotta take a call. I'll be right back.
Okay.
I think that there's enough of the power players who have now realized where that they don't want to have a, what should I say,
bombastic
rhymes with hit show at the convention. That I think you're already hearing all the talks, like closed door meetings, things like that. I think that there's going to be a strategy before then, because
you think that is wise but disappointing to me.
You want to see the spectacle, Tom. That's why.
I just love the drama of that.
You like daytime soaps, don't you?
Weird historical things happening. That's why I always love when there's a third-party candidate that gets real momentum from John Anderson on.
It's like the I used to describe when Ross Perot ran. I'm like, yeah, it's like the cat somebody throws out on the baseball field.
Yeah.
You're like, wow, look at that. That's different.
May not be good for the game. I don't know, but it's sure fun to watch.
Yeah, and it's just interesting because it's like, then you watch Burnt did much better in Michigan than people thought, and there's a 20-point difference in style. It's a fascinating season that, 100 years from now, we're going to laugh and talk about those crazy years.
This will
I remember
probably
1968. Yeah.
I saw it, an interesting article that talked about, like, hey, here's what's cool going on with Jeff Bezos and Blue Origin and SpaceX. It says, 100 years from now, that will matter more, will be more important than the turnout of this election.
Probably.
We hope.
I think that will be enough time that there should be a cycle that emerges where you can see the wheel turn, so to speak. Not just politically, but just kind of the way the country functions.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll be able to sit in like an American history class, and there'll just be this giant timeline like they do for like dinosaurs and humans, like that show like each place in history and how it comes about.
I'm a very, very. I'm becoming more and more. I'm convincing myself of this, and I could be very deluded. But I think that, and Bill Gates has said the same thing, pretty much the same effect. Bill backs me up on this. In the next 15 years, we're going to see an incredible energy revolution. We're going to see, most likely, with one thing is what we've talked about, fusion. There's a lot of really exciting stuff going on the private side of fusion. We've had more people developing fusion now than it used to be one monolithic program. Two, there are other things happening that how disruptive that will be of like true energy, low polluting, high production, super cheap energy production has a tremendous effect. If you look at every time that the cost of energy drops, the economy blows up. You talk about there was first the Industrial Revolution and the steam engine and what that did as far as factories and increasing productivity, then the introduction of electricity and what that happened, and so you get these kind of changes once every 100 years or so, and we're heading towards one that would be a dramatic change in things.
I agree with you, but I don't think it'll be fusion.
I'm very convinced it will be.
I think the big one will be basically breaking out our current system where we have, singular large sources of power generation.
Yeah.
And then devolve that down into more residential level.
But that won't give us a magnitude order of difference that fusion would.
Well, no, it won't. But at the same time, I don't think.
Sorry, we talk about all the cold fusion mumbo jumbo.
No.
Welcome to East Meets Weird Things.
All right,
I'll
stop.
No. You look at.
No, I'm actually done with posting the show. So.
Yeah, I'm talking about what groups like General Fusion, Tri-Alpha Energy, places like that, where you have people like Paul Allen Bacht and all that. That's like there's been really, really interesting developments there, and they're building stuff to fit into existing power plants and stuff. So not the ITR, the tokamaks, and things like that, which are dead ends.
Roger, you have 30 seconds.
I'm sorry. Oh, I won't go. I won't say anything then.
What?
No, I was saying you have 30 seconds to respond. I'm going because I'm going to end the stream. That's why.
All right.
But no, seriously, no joking. Check out Weird Things to get more of. Well, not always exactly that kind of conversation, but a lot of that kind of conversation.
Yeah.
East meets weird.
Oh, we should totally do that when we have our
Crossover.
Still crossover.
See, the ideas just come falling out of my mouth.
All right, thanks everybody for watching.
Bye.
And listening. Goodbye.